Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another session of Aptitude series. And in this video, we are actually going to learn about a very simple concept and an important one too. And you will never ever go wrong here. This is something where you can easily score your marks that you need. This topic is simple interest. Now, be aware that this is a very simple topic, and moreover it is a topic that we have been seeing since ages. We have been seeing this in our childhood, we have been seeing this in our college, everywhere, right? It's basic math. So I think it begins even as low as 4th or 5th standard, if I'm not wrong. So there are a couple of things that you want to remember here, or rather brush up here. So the first thing is principal. This is denoted by the letter P. This is basically the amount or the sum of money that you have borrowed. Okay, this is denoted by the letter P. Simple interest. This is what we typically calculate, which we denote by SI. This is basically the money that, simple interest is what is the topic that we are looking at. This is the money that we pay based on the rate of interest that we are borrowing the loan at. And rate of interest is denoted by R, which is basically the percentage of interest. If I'm borrowing it at 5%, if I'm borrowing it 10%, what is the rate of interest? You denote the rate of interest with R, and basically you calculate the simple interest based on the rate of interest. Interest is simply the money that you pay on top of your principal. And in this video specifically, we are focusing on simple interest. So interest can be simple interest or compound interest. Now, our focus is simple interest. Our life begins with a simple formula in this concept. Simple interest, denoted by SI, is P T R by 100. Okay, P is the principal, which is the amount that you have borrowed. T is the time period in years for which you're borrowing the money, and R is the rate of interest at which you're borrowing the money by 100. So this will give you the money that you have to pay. This will give you the interest that you have to pay on top of your principal. This is as simple as that. And based on this formula, you can just modify it. Let's say P is equal to 100 into simple interest by time period into rate of interest, right? Or you can say rate of interest is equal to simple interest into 100 by per principal into time period, right? In the same way, the number of years is equal to 100 into SI by the rate of interest into principal, right? These are all derivatives of the same formula that we are seeing here. So just remember this formula. I'm pretty sure you already know. That's what we are brushing up here. All right. Let's look at some basic calculations. Okay. Let's say the question is, find the simple interest on a sum of rupees 1 lakh, okay, at a rate of interest of 5%, borrowed for 15 years. Okay, so it's a simple solution. We are asking for simple interest. Simple interest is P into T into R by 100. So my principal is 1 lakh rupees into 15 years at 5% by 100. So I'm gonna do this, and 15 fives is 75, right? And 1 2 3. So over a period of 15 years, I'm gonna have to pay 75,000 rupees as interest for the 1 lakh rupees that I have borrowed if it is 5% rate of interest. Okay, now let's do a slightly different one. Let's say find the SI for 10,000 rupees. I'm gonna say 25 months, okay? For 25 months at 7% interest. So SI is P into T into R by 100. My principal is 10,000. My rate of interest is 7. And my time period, rate of interest is 7, okay? It's a slight change in the order. And my time period is 25 months. So remember that time period is always in years. So I first have to do 25 months to years, right? So that is 24 plus 1 by 12. 24 months is 2 years, right? So 24 to 1 by 12 years, right? So I can say, can I say 25 by 12 years, right? Okay, into 25 by 12. So that's what my simple interest is going to be. So that's like 14,583 by 100, right? 14,583 by 100. So this is my simple interest of 1,458 rupees. Okay, so what I want to highlight here is that you should always take years as the time period. You should always take the time period in years. Okay. Now, things can also slightly differ. They might ask you these concepts in data sufficiency, right? So they're going to give you points 1, 2, 3, and you have to figure out which of them is enough to find out the answer that you need. So let's look at one question like that. So my question is going to be, what is the principal sum? So we know SI is P T R by 100. So if we know the interest, time period and rate of interest, if we know the actual interest to be paid, the time period and the rate of interest, we can find principal, right? We can find out the one unknown value if we know the other three values, correct? So my options are the sum amounts to, okay, so the first option says the sum amounts to 800 in 5 years. So that gives us the actual total amount, which is basically principal plus the simple interest, right? So that's one. The sum amounts to 800 in 5 years. So we have one time period, right? We don't have the rate of interest. Okay. Now, the second option is the sum amounts to 1300 in 7 years at an SI. Here also we have the actual amount, right, which is simple interest plus principal, the actual total sum, which means 1300 minus P. So you can say 1300 minus P is the simple interest, and you have a time period of 7 years, right? In both these cases, you don't have the rate of interest. In the third case, the rate of interest is 5%. So he's giving you the rate of interest. Now just let's write the formula again. SI is equal to P T R by 100. So just the third statement, is it sufficient if I have 5, right, as my answer? Is it sufficient? So 3 alone is not sufficient. 2 alone, is it sufficient? If the sum amounts to 1300, it means 1300 minus P is equal to P into 7 into rate of interest by 100. So I cannot find P, right, because I also have another unknown R. So in either of the cases, 1 or 2, I cannot find it alone. I cannot use a single statement alone to find out the value of P because I have an unknown of R. And I cannot find using statement 3 alone because I have an unknown variable P and I also have an unknown variable T. Alright. So in a combination of 1 and 3, can I find it? I have P as the unknown variable, I can put 5% as the rate of interest, right? And I can find out the principal, right? So I can find it using 1 and 3, and I can find it using 2 and 3. Now, you should basically be careful, because sometimes you might also be able to find out using 1 and 2, or even any of the two, right? So let's just check if we are able to do that. Say in the first case, right, simple interest is PTR by 100. So amount is 800, right? So the sum amounts to 800, right? So 800 minus P is equal to P into, we don't have, we have the time period, into R by 100. And then we have another option of 1300 minus P is equal to P into 7 into R by 100. So what we can do here is we can find out the value of R from both these equations, right? We can say for this one we can say 100 into 800 minus P by P into 5 is equal to R, right? And here I'm going to say 100 into 1300 minus P by P into 7. So this is R. So if I equate this and this, I have only P, right? So that way I can, if I equate this, a P and P will get cancelled. They are both in the denominator. 100 and 100 get cancelled. So it is 800 minus P is equal, 800 minus P by 5 is equal to 1300 minus P by 7. So now I can just solve this equation for P, right? So once I have that, I have my answer to this. So I can solve this sum using any of the two items, right? If I have this and if I have this, I can solve it. If I have 2 and 3, I can solve it. If I have 1 and 2, then also I can solve it. So the answer will be, I can solve it using any of the two inputs. So this is how a data sufficiency problem using simple interest could look like. So this is all, guys. I mean, just remember the formula. Simple interest is P into T into R by 100. All right. So it's been there since childhood, and you're going to do it well in this exam. So I hope this video helped you learn something or revise something. And thank you very much for watching, and all the best for your test. Peace.